Hey guys, I'm Michelle Martin, U.S. Communications Manager for Drax Biomass, and I am joined now by Brad Mayhew. He is our Senior Vice President of Operations, and we are coming to you from our Gloster plant here in Amite County. Today, what are we doing?
Today, we are going to take a virtual tour of our Gloster plant from start to finish.
All right, guys, come on. Now we're going to introduce you to one of the first faces that you see when you walk in our Gloster plant. That is Crystal Murray. She is our office administrator and our community liaison. Crystal, what do those drops mean?
My duties are to make sure that the office operations are flowing efficiently. As far as the community liaison goes, to make sure that there's an establishing relationship between Drax and the community.
So now that we've met one of the friendliest faces that you're ever going to meet, we're going to sign in, we're going to go check out a safety video, and then Brad's going to give us a tour. I see, obviously all of the wood there. Where are we walking to right now?
So we're going to walk to the crane, and this is our log storage where we receive and store up to 25,000 tons of roundwood.
So obviously this is where, storage happens. What happens from that point? Where do they go?
So here you can see we have our crane unloading this log truck, and this log truck, once unloaded, can either go to be stored or it can get fed into this process where we have a chipper.
Like, how much wood does it take in one grab?
That's a 25-ton crane. It unloads that truck in 2 bites. Okay. You can see the truck driver, once he's unloaded, can safely go back to his truck.
What kind of wood is this?
So this is forest thinnings and low-grade roundwood.
This stuff isn't going to be made into houses or furniture or anything?
No, unfortunately not. It's low-grade, it's thin or crooked.
So how many trucks come through here a day?
Up to 100 trucks come through here per day. Here we take logs, feed it into the debarker where we remove bark from the roundwood. And then from there we chip the debarked logs. And I'm about to go show you the chipper.
Okay, cool.
All right, Michelle, now we're going into the chipper cab where the operator is controlling all of this equipment.
It's air conditioned in there, huh?
It is air conditioned.
Boy,
it's hot outside.
Let's go. So we have an excellent vantage point right now. We're seeing where the logs came from the trucks. They were unloaded here. They went through the debarker. What's happening now?
You see logs going into the debarking drum. They come out with no bark.
What happens to the bark?
The bark we burn in our furnace. It's a heat source to dry our chips.
So it's efficient.
Very efficient. We use 100% of the log. So there's a big disc with a bunch of knives spinning really fast, and it's the logs go through and become chips. And when we leave here, we'll go look at the chip pile.
Okay. So we just saw where the logs get debarked, they go through the chipper, and somehow they end up in this massive pile of chips.
That's correct, Michelle. So from the chipper, they are conveyed. The chips that we just saw get made are conveyed to this chip stacker, and they go to this big pile. So this pile is about 4 days worth of inventory.
Okay.
And this is a combination of the chips we just saw get made at the chipper, as well as sawmill residuals.
From here, I see that there's a machine doing work right here that's kind of picking them up, dropping them on this conveyor belt. What's that about?
That's correct. So on this half, we're stacking chips through the stacker, and this half, we're reclaiming chips. From the reclaimer, they'll follow a series of conveyors and go to the dryer.
Brad, I got a question. Have you ever done any sledding in your life?
Sledding?
Sledding.
No. I live where it's hot. We don't sled. I'm
just saying, this is like the opportunity of a lifetime to hop up there and come all the way down. We don't do that?
No, we don't.
Because safety first?
We want to keep people safe.
All right. We checked out that massive pile of chips.
That's right.
I understand they get on that conveyor.
And then they go into this silo right here. So from the
right
chip reclaimer that we saw at the big chip pile, they go to this silo.
Okay.
And this silo allows us to meter consistently the amount going into the dryer.
So is meter just a fancy way of saying what?
It's a fancy way to say that consistent flow. When we get to the other side, we'll look at the furnace where the heat comes from. Through that blue chute, the chips go into the dryer.
This big thing right here.
Yep, that's turning and tumbling the chips, so they come in here at 50% moisture, and they come out the other end at 10% moisture.
When you say dryer, we know how a dryer at home works. Is it kind of like the same idea? It's got to be massively different, right?
So there's a big fan that's pulling heat from the furnace and chips through the dryer. So it's 1,000 degrees right here.
Oh.
And it's about 200 degrees at the end.
Okay, so it gets cooler as it goes to the dryer.
As the water evaporates, it's cooled down.
Okay.
Cool.
We're certain there's no clothes in there, no free laundry in here.
One large pair of blue jeans. All right, now that we've walked to the other side of the dryer, In front of us is the furnace. This is where we burn bark to generate the heat to dry the chips.
Comes off of the logs that come in.
Exactly.
So
And
we're using every part.
using 100% of the tree that comes in. That's correct.
Renewable.
And when we get to the control room, we'll look at a camera that's inside that furnace, and you can see the fire. It's really cool, right?
Okay.
So this is what the chips look like when they come out of the dryer. So they went in at 50% moisture, and now you can see they're quite dry. They're down below 10%.
And this is what's going into the hammer mills.
Correct. So we're going to take this into a hammer mill and turn it into sawdust.
Are there actual hammers in there? Like,
There are.
where are we going to now?
To the truck dumps.
The truck down. Is this the thing where the trucks pull onto it and then it goes?
Yep. So here we have a truck of chips. These chips are waste byproduct from a sawmill.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we receive these chips, and they combine with the chips we make at our own chipper to eventually become a pellet.
So we talk a lot about how it's not just, making chips and pellets that we do. We're a bigger part or a smaller part of the larger timber industry.
That's correct.
So we kind of take their leftovers
That's correct.
and
So
do things with it.
instead of that going to landfill or getting burned, we receive their waste stream and eventually make a pellet out of it.
we have a market for that.
Of course. And these are received through these truck dumps. So this person's queued up to get unloaded next. You see they back in. and
I was going to say, do they have to back in?
they back in. That's his safe waiting area, and it's also where he controls lifting his truck and bringing it back down after it's
Oh,
empty.
they lift their own trucks.
He hits start and it goes up. He's going to lower that truck.
Yeah.
Going to drive off, and this one's
Hop
going to
in
back
there.
right in, and truck driver's going to get out and do the same thing. Yeah, so behind us we have 6 hammer mills. The dry chips that we saw come from the dryer go through one of these 6, and it reduces their size to smaller than 4 millimeters.
I was joking about the pounding hammer. So it's basically like a big pounding.
It's a big drum that's turning really fast with about 150 steel hammers that beat,
What happens?
yeah, beating the dry chip until it's sawdust. Like all of the exhaust of the hammer mills gets pulled off by this fan,
Okay.
and then all of that exhaust gets burned in a RCO.
What is RCO stand?
It's a catalyst, about 900 degrees in there, and it's burning off all of the VOCs coming from the hammer mill.
So we had the West, the RCO,
At the dryer.
RCO.
And the Wesp and the RTO is for more of a humid environment. This is drier. This is the appropriate equipment for this. But this is to burn off all of the VOCs from the hammer mill. So that's the RCO stack. You can see nothing but this clean air coming out of the RCO. This is only the air stream from the hammer mill. All of the product from the hammer mill goes to a silo to become a pellet here in just a few minutes. As we head into the building, we're now walking past our dry shaving system.
Okay. So this strip right here.
He is bringing, that's correct, he's bringing dry shavings from a sawmill.
Okay.
And what dry shavings are, in the process of making lumber, it's that final cleanup of that piece of lumber, and that material is already dry. So we don't have to put that in our dryer, we don't have to put it through our wood yard, we bring it directly in here, and it combines with the stuff that we've dried. So we saw the dry chips that came from the dryer. This is what it looks like after it's come from the hammer mill. You can see it's very fine. And if any of this is still too big, it goes across with a screen, and it goes through a second hammer mill. So Michelle, in here we're going to go look at the control room and meet the control room operators controlling the plant. Michelle, this is Luke, our control room operator.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Luke, can you explain to us what all these screens are doing?
Well, basically, I'm just monitoring the plant in its entirety. So if you look at it this way, it flows from left to right. So that's basically everything from a pine tree to a pellet on this side. This is the wet side where the green wood comes in, and I'm just basically monitoring everything from point A to point B. This is a dryer furnace. Goes over here to the pellet mills. It's automated, and we kind of mesh together. Me and the automation, we mesh together. So I control temps and I control feed rates. I'll basically set a temp at the dryer, and that's where the automation takes in.
So this follows the flow of the plant that we walked. This wet side home is the chipper cab we stood in, and the crane. You can see how all of that's working to the pile of chips, and then furnace and dryer. The camera's inside the furnace. You see that big flame? That's the bark we're burning.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the bark we're burning to generate the heat,
To save energy.
to save energy.
Yeah.
And then at the top, he's got trends on all of this pollution control, and then an overview of the entire plant. See how the whole plant's doing in one spring.
That's amazing.
Something.
It's a very important job.
All right, Michelle, now that we've seen the control room, let's go have a look at the lab where we take quality samples of all the product. Michelle, meet James. James working in our lab today.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Okay, James, there's a lot going on in here. I understand this quality control. What happens in here?
Yes, ma'am. Well, here we test all of our samples coming in. We get the moisture content of everything. We test our pellets. We get the durability samples, see how durable they are, and moisture samples off that. Just check out how all our material is coming in.
Make sure it's quality control.
Make sure we're all lined out.
I understand that like you also kind of put it through like a fake shipping process.
That's our tumblers in there. Yes, ma'am.
Why is it necessary to do that?
Just in the shipping process, how stuff gets kind of rough, shakes about and everything. This just kind of simulates that. And so whatever breaks off the pellets, we can kind of see. And we do a little simple math here and see what our durability percentage is. And if it's good enough durability, it gets shipped out.
All right, James, thank you so much for telling us how everything works. You seem super busy, so we're gonna let you get back to work. We're gonna come on with our tour.
All right, thank you. You have a good one. Nice to meet you.
Now let's go have a look at our pellet mill floor.
Okay.
So that's what the machine looks like when it's open. The material from the hammer mill goes through that, dumps out a pellet.
Really loud.
As you can see, it's quite loud on the floor. That's why we wear hearing protection.
Safety first.
It's really cool, right? We got to see a pellet mill that was open and then collect samples from pellet mill that was running, right? You see how they're really hot.
They come out crazy hot.
Crazy hot, right? But we're going to go downstairs and see what they look like after they've been cooled. So we saw the really hot pellets coming out of the machine upstairs, right?
Yeah.
And they drop from that machine into this cooler. There's a few ton of pellets in this cooler with air blowing across it. And here they're cooled off. That's our finished product. Nice, cool pellets. Big tip. So the pellets are a replacement for coal. They're burned far, far away at a power plant in England. They're a direct replacement for coal. And we pelletize that wood because it's much more dense. We get a lot more energy on a shipment by pelletizing it versus just shipping unprocessed wood.
Okay. So you're saying it goes all the way to England. How does it get there?
Great question. So from this plant, we load trucks, and trucks come in, they fill up their truck with pellets and go to our port in Baton Rouge, about an hour drive from here.
How do they get into the trucks?
Let's go have a look. All right, so you can see this truck driver just pulled in, and he's going to get out of his truck and remove this tarp, right? So the tarp's to keep rain out of the truck so the pellets don't get wet. And then he's going to come up and fill his truck. Push his button, these spouts will come down, fill his truck up with pellets. He'll put the tarp back on and head off to Baton Rouge.
How does he know how much is enough? Is there like a fill line?
That's a great question. There's a scale, and when that scale gets to the road limit on his weight, it shuts off. So we keep this truck safe and with.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Brad, thank you so much for taking us from start to finish on the life cycle of a wood pellet before it's set sail for the UK. As for now, I'm Michelle, this is Brad, and we'll see you at our next plant tour.